morning.
Hello.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you?
How are you? I hope lots of you come over. I was just saying to Mark, there's 500 people there on that. I'm thinking people must be on, lots of people must be working from home.
I guess so. Tim Reed, good morning.
Oh,
Vanessa
hello.
Wild, Ellery Jones, Teresa A, Jenny Matthews, April Hill. Jenny Matthews, I've already said you.
I just wanted to say hello to those
MT.
people. I just wanted to carry on.
I'm just saying hello to them
So
individually.
if you've come over from Instagram, which I hope you have, because I know lots of you don't yet know about us over here, and it's really nice to have more. We've got such a lovely community here, haven't we, Mark?
We really have.
Honestly,
Really have.
people make friends here, and it's a really lovely place to be. Hit the subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything. Go and watch all our Vlogmases, because at the end of Vlogmas, that's our family Christmas
Oh, I see. The
reality
quiz
show.
question is going to be about
Yeah,
them.
because to win the ninja, we're going to ask 3 questions from 3 individual Vlogmas, and you have to get all 3 right.
Vanessa Wild,
But
last
welcome.
night's vlog, you found a real treat. Yeah, it was one of the. When I was editing it, I was thinking, God, this is really useful actually, because if I hadn't been, and obviously I had, because we went to film it, I'd be really interested just to have a nose around without having to go.
It was
Because
really
you always
nice.
hear about Harrods, but you rarely see inside, because they don't allow you to film, for
Let's do
TV
it
and stuff like that.
covertly.
So,
I,
not so covert.
Well, no,
covertly.
we're just like that,
Yeah,
actually.
exactly.
I don't know if you kept the bit in where we said that we've been together 20 years, we've never been to Harrods together. But we literally went, we know the subs will love it, because so many of you aren't in London.
Morning, JB.
Many of you will never have been to Harrods, and it is one of those, I mean, it's known
But
around
even
the world.
Londoners don't really go.
Exactly, it's known around the world. So it was a treat for us treating you.
Is there anywhere else in London you'd like to see that you sort of think from outside of London, oh, I'd love to see that? Nanny Di lives near Tower Bridge. I mean, I think we brought you most parts of London. I've got a particular trip that me and Nanny Di are going to do. But if there's anywhere, do say now. Can I just say thank you for a couple of cards? Claire.
Oh,
Once again,
Claire.
thank you so much, Claire. Very sweet. Nikki. Really, it's like swap shop, isn't it? Do you remember when Noel Edmonds would do the... and this one is from Claire.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very sweet. Very
Thank
kind.
you, guys.
And they all go up in our...
And don't forget, we're closing the PO box at the end of this year because too many people are sending presents, and we really are getting worried about
parcels.
people spending money. But you can send cards. You can always send cards, but no more parcels.
There's one. Look, Helen Teague says Borough Market. Yeah, it's a tricky one, Borough Market. I'll tell you why.
You find it difficult, don't
Well,
you?
I'll tell you why. Because we had a little bit of this at the alternative Christmas market. Some stall holders are really tetchy about you filming on their stalls. Why is that, having been a stall
I think when
holder?
it's artistry, they're scared that somebody will copy them.
Why would you not be
But I
interested?
think with foods, and I think if I walk up to a stall,
Yeah.
and most people know me, don't they, foodies, and I go, listen, I love the look of your stall, can we film here? They'd be over the moon.
But
So
presumably
we can
any
do it.
publicity is a good thing in this current climate, no?
I think artists get scared people are going to copy them.
Yeah, I can understand that.
I mean, if somebody went up to Dina's Art by Bots, because people are copying, this is my sister's business,
Oh, I
they're copying
see.
it all the time.
Oh, are they?
So
Oh,
if they
that's
came up and
interesting.
really were filming it, yeah. Oh, I mean, there's one company that follows her exactly every month, like
Right.
a week after they've done what they do. But it's not nearly as good.
Okay. Look, a couple of ideas coming in here for places in London. Borough Market, Tower Bridge, go to the Shard.
Maybe we could do Borough Market on Tuesday.
Yeah, street food. That's always good. Well, you could get a little bit of that where I'm
Wednesday.
taking Nanny Di. Where else? Selfridges, please. I miss home at Christmas. You wanted to do Selfridges, didn't you? Camden Town. Yeah, Camden Town is a good one, actually, because it's very funky and very... No, I know,
Don't
but
have
that
the energy
street
for-
is emblematic, isn't it? I mean, the street.
Maybe we could do that in a home time.
Chelsea girl, not surprisingly, suggests Stamford Bridge. Not surprising at all. Kew Gardens, I've been wanting to go. Hamleys. I was
It's almost impossible to film in Hamleys. I'll tell you why, because it's so heaving in there. You can't really see anything.
Yeah, I
Can
mean,
you?
it's
Hate
actually an
that shop.
incredibly cramped shop.
Hate it.
Hamleys. You get to, and also you've got with lots and lots of children, a grown man just going in and filming isn't a good thing. St Paul's Cathedral, Rhys
So
Roberts.
sad that, isn't it?
Soho, Natalie Motto. That's interesting. Soho as opposed to Covent Garden. Yeah, I know
That's
what you mean.
what I thought
Yeah.
that you could do with.
Yeah, I might do that. Soho.
mum.
I could take you on a pub. I could take you on a pub crawl of all the pubs I used to go to at Christmas time, couldn't I?
We could do that together.
Yeah, I could go
So
to
I
all
could
the
drink,
bars.
and you could film.
Yeah, you could drink. Yeah. We
I
could go
love
to
Jake.
Nellie Dean, the Crown and Two Chairmen, the Blue Post. I mean, it will be a
Nelly
colourful
Dean
journey.
is where we used to go when we were first going out together.
It's a colourful journey and full of all sorts of weird shit. Like, I won't even tell you why, but toilet doors being cut in half just for me.
Well, let's save these to go in between the news when we're sick of the news.
One of the top stories.
We've got little fun Christmas quiz questions to pepper through this in case we get fed up of the news.
So one of the top stories today, before we get into more frivolous sort of stories, is the baby star Hobson and the babysitter sort of saying that basically we've just had another failure of social services here. You know, these sort of stories, I find them almost so tragic, I can't bear listening to them. And then I think, is that wrong? Is it wrong of me to not? Because nothing can bring.
No,
her
I
back,
think your feelings, it's like all of our feelings are all valid. But I do think it's important that these are talked about because it's so easy to forget that there are people that can do these terrible things.
Yeah.
And, you know, I saw the news yesterday, but I wasn't sure if the man that was talking was the grandfather or the father. He was one of the relatives who'd made continuous complaints. And in fact, had been so desperate, he put a photo up on Twitter of how Star looked when she was with him and how Star looked and she had bruises over. And he called out to the girlfriend, what is going on? Because that's how desperate he was.
Yeah.
And he actually said to the social worker, we don't want another baby P on our hands. And the social worker didn't know what he meant. And you know, we know about Baby Pete. We know about Victoria Kimberley. We know about that poor little Arthur last week. And it is important because I think it was his great-granddad, was it? I think because we all have to be alert. Can we put our hand on our hearts and say if we saw I mean, there was a horrible instance where she was being dragged along the road by the girlfriend and she was crying and screaming and she had a fractured leg. Now, many of us could... I don't know that I would have called the police if I saw that. I might think that's a tantrum, and I suppose it alerts us to the horrors of the world.
Well, I suppose the thing about social services and social work, and my mum used to be in a relationship with a social worker, and so I didn't get on with this woman particularly well, but I did see the extraordinary stress social workers are under.
I feel so sorry
in
for
close
them.
up. And I also remember this woman talking about how the first line of sort of being accused of failing is always the social workers.
So makes me so angry because it's the continuous government's slashing.
Precisely. Someone's just sort of said, Gabrielle, social services are so underfunded. I mean, you can get to individual cases where you think, how can you not know about the Baby P case?
Somebody there just said it's part of all social services training, but when I listened to a lot around when Arthur was being talked about a couple of weeks ago, and there were social workers ringing up, and I think social workers are incredible people. They face such scary situations all the time. And she was saying, you know, so many people have left the service because it's so underfunded and they are under such stress because they have such heavy workloads. And what we have now is a lot of inexperienced social workers, and that's not their fault.
But that will come from a lack of funding for training, won't it?
Exactly. So I am not a one for bashing the social workers individually. It's the system that is broken, and anybody that's within that system will tell you that.
Elsa Pop says, I would have 100% called the police. You don't drag a child along the floor. Fair point.
Was she being literally dragged along the floor?
Yeah. Tracy Lynham, we are so afraid of getting it wrong that we turn a blind eye.
And that's why these stories are important. Do you know what else? I think the child... I think the child needs to be heard because they weren't heard. You know, I mean, I felt so sorry for her young babysitter who was saying that she had also, you know, made complaints. She was on the news yesterday, and she said that she was so clingy, but in a way that wasn't right. She was terrified hanging on to her. Have you seen the films of that little girl? Dermot Monaghan yesterday, I never know how to say his name on the news. He actually couldn't speak. He just couldn't speak after that film, because I was really glad that all the films that we saw of her were just of her as a beautiful, happy baby, because that's who she was. that's who she was, and she wasn't heard in those years.
Can I just, I was
as
just
months.
thinking, it was just putting me in mind of an experience I had when I was much younger. I was about 18, 19, you know this story. And I worked in a school as the kind of, you know, I'd come in the after school and I'd create rounders and baseball and play with all the kids and just basically get them all excited and run around. And this one particular girl grew very attached to me and sort of started calling me daddy and all this kind of stuff. And I remember thinking, this is a bit strange. And then she'd jump on me and all this kind of stuff. And of course, you know, I was 19 and I was thinking, okay, this is weird. But it's amazing how much knowledge we have of these things now.
Yeah.
Because back then, I didn't see it as symptomatic of something that was perhaps or potentially going wrong in her home life. Suffice it to say, I finished my stint as a sort of, you know, having them all entertained. And I was contacted by my then girlfriend's mother to be told that she'd been killed by her father in a duel. He jumped off a cliff or something. He killed himself and her. I know. And so...
Oh my God, you never told me that.
I thought I had.
Oh
And
my
so
God,
at a
that's
very low level,
horrific.
nothing she was presenting was overtly enough for one to go.
Oh
She
my
just seemed a bit
God.
clingy.
Oh, no,
She just
that's
seemed a
so
bit clingy.
awful for
And
you
it
as well.
stuck with me for years. It stuck with me for years that, you know, now, I often ask myself, I think, well, now, would I have picked it up? She was a bit
So
clingy.
you've answered your own question,
She called me
haven't
daddy.
you?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know
yeah.
all this stuff now.
Yeah.
Because now there's a fine line between salacious, headline grabbing and about it takes a village.
Yeah.
You know, it takes a society to bring up a child.
Yeah.
And as a society, how do we feel? How does this affect how we might behave? And that's why I think it's important. But mostly at the top of my list, it's like, Arthur, nobody loves me. Nobody's going to feed me. And he would have been screaming to the walls with nobody hearing him.
Yeah, no, it's.
Yes.
I mean, and I have to be honest. I mean, you know, the babysitter will feel huge grief on so many
She'll
levels.
never be
I mean, I
okay
felt
with
it.
her
I
life.
felt it just on that. I just remember thinking, what could I have done? What should I have done? What could I have done?
And what
oh my
trauma
God.
was her dad in? I mean, maybe her dad was just so depressed and just...
So you're right. I mean, my instinct with stories like this when I hear them is I've seen so many and heard so many awful stories. I feel when I first see it and hear it, I know how fucking awful people can be, and it sickens me to my soul.
Well, you know what
but
I
then
think...
you're right. You know, in a sense, this child deserves to hear, you know, for their story to be heard for as long as she was alive. It's just tragic. It's just
so
tragic.
Adorable,
It's tragic.
innocent little face. But you know, again, you know, on this never-ending question about CCTV footage, CCTVs, which, with everything that's going on at the moment, with so many freedoms being questioned, our freedoms, I understand why people are very cautious about CCTV. But this woman used to take her to work. She was a security guard in an industrial estate. And when the police heard that, they thought that was really suspicious, because at this point, I don't think they had a full picture.
Right.
And they went and checked all the CCTV footage, and they were able to have evidence of 21 beatings that she gave her at work.
Good God.
So that means, you know, there is no question here. You know, they've got that evidence. And so again, I always swing back to, it gets the bad people,
Yeah,
CCTV,
yeah.
it doesn't get the good people.
Absolutely.
Just a moment.
Yeah, just a moment. It's one of the other stories today, and we'll be hearing, I presume, a lot more about this later today, is Katie Price is to be sentenced today for her drink-driving crash. You know, this generates, you know, she has to be punished in the way that's appropriate. She needs to take responsibility. But, you know, it's another one of those tragic stories of watching someone, I feel, spiral out of control and get deeper and deeper into all sorts of trouble. Don't you think?
I mean, I think...
I mean, she's potentially she is facing a potential custodial sentence. She did go immediately into rehab, didn't she? Because they said part of the condition. Whether that will be viewed as kind of cooperative and responsible, I don't know. What do you think, guys? What do you think should happen? What do you think will happen?
From my opinion, knowing Katie, because Katie was obviously a loose woman for a while, first and foremost, I don't think Katie is a bad person. I think she's made some really bad choices, And in my opinion, I think she has real issues with her mental health. I think that she, in my opinion, I mean, I'm no doctor, I think, and for that, she has my sympathy and my empathy, and for her family and all of that. But you have to hit a rock bottom to be able to get better. And she could have killed herself and so many others by getting in that car. And it's just, we don't know yet whether that was rock bottom enough. When you were in rehab, there were people that still hadn't reached their rock bottom, and the most terrible things. And it's the rock bottom that can help you then get sober and all of that. And you know, Mark's rock bottom was he really thought he was going to lose us all as a family, and that was unbearable. That was too much of a price, and that's what, you know, and that's what got him well. I mean, it's your story to tell about you and.
Yeah. I mean, drink driving was the first moment for me. I mean, obviously, it didn't end in the same manner of a crash or anything, but you know, when you have done something like that, you have broken a moral code, and you have taken yourself to a place that is impossible to escape, the shame, the guilt, the horror of it. And yeah, the only thing you can do with something like this is try and turn it into something that becomes a positive, but it requires graft, and it requires a willingness and a commitment, even within the throes of. And this is the problem with addiction. And interestingly, Lucy Heaney is asking about. Would love to hear your thoughts on Ben Affleck blaming his drinking on the fact that he felt trapped being married to Jennifer Garner.
Disgusting.
That's outrageous.
Outrageous. How
Absolutely
dare he?
outrageous.
He's not well yet. Then
No.
He's not facing. That woman has supported him all the way through. I didn't even know he'd done that.
No, I didn't, Lucy. But I mean, in a weird way, that chimes and ties in with the whole Katie Price thing. Is people only get better if you truly want to get better. And the problem with that, and it's not easy, it sounds like a trite thing to say, and people often say, well, how? Well, the how is the detail. Through a whole range of, you know,
well, how
getting
you
support.
did is you took 100% responsibility
you
for
have
what
to.
you'd done, and you were incredible.
But that doesn't make it any easier.
You let me sit there and tell you everything, and you hung your head and you said, I'm so sorry, and you meant it.
Yeah.
And then every day you try your very hard. What's wrong with me today? I'm so emotional. Every single day you put that into practice. You know, for the last, how many years you sober now? I always forget.
17.
17 years you are, and that's what it takes. It takes grit, it takes courage. There's somebody that is very close to us that we know who never took the responsibility of what impact their addiction had on the family and friends, and in fact actually then went back to drinking because they hadn't taken the responsibility. And I remember when Mark went into rehab, they said the only people who make it are the people that truly understand where they went wrong and how they hurt people. So Ben Affleck saying that is disgusting.
He obviously
She's never
hasn't
said one bad thing about him in public.
But the problem there is obviously he hasn't got well in the way that you need to get well, which is you have to face everything. I mean, it's just, you know. Anyway, going back to Katie Price, there are two sides to this. There's the one side, as someone just said there, they know someone who was lost, who died due to drunk driving. You know, there are hundreds, thousands of people lost to drunk driving. It has to be punished. You have to.
It's the most dangerous. It's like having a gun, isn't it? Yeah. It really is like having a gun.
Yeah.
I mean, I fear that to the outside world, that I know it's chaos. It's actually chaos that's driving that. But to the outside world, she's been on holiday, she's done this, she's done that. So to everybody, I think
Deborah
people
Rogers,
are saying,
Katie Price doesn't seem
people
to
are
show
saying
any
we're
remorse.
not. She's not showing remorse.
Well, she kind of does need sort of. It's a little bit like that story in Real Housewives where they keep saying stop posting Instagram photos of yourself with your bum out because you're in the middle of a terrible case of fleecing poor people. But you know, it's kind of like
it's a terrible situation.
She needs a PR team sort of saying to her, look, this isn't good.
For her kids, for her family, for her mum who's got a terminal illness, for her brother. There's people that really. I mean, she's got a lot of family that love her, and I feel really sorry for them too. Thank God nobody got killed, huh? I mean, the problem is I think she'll get a sentence because she's a repeat offender. They've taken her licence away a couple of times, haven't they? And she was driving with no licence. Yeah. Well done you again.
Oh, crikey. That's okay. Oh, sweetheart.
No, it just made me feel really blessed in both situations. That Ben Affleck saying that, shame on him.
It's bad.
And I tell you what, if he's not taking response, he will pick up a drink again. I'm
Oh,
telling you,
absolutely.
because if he's still got woe is me, pour me another drink,
Yeah.
then he's gonna get ill again.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
What's wrong with
That's all right. But a couple of other stories that I just wanted to talk about. Got Billie Eilish in the title, and she talks. This is something we've covered before, but she talks, and I think it's good that she's talking about this with her following and her fame. But she talks about how watching pornography destroyed her brain, and she's coming from the perspective not of being shown material against her will, though you could argue all pornography is, whenever seen by women, is against their will. You could argue that philosophically. But she talks about how watching pornography made her make choices in her own activities and sexual interactions that when she looks back, she wishes she hadn't made.
Oh,
You know.
sweetheart.
And I think that's a really important thing for someone with her profile to talk
to
about.
give her a big hug.
She says,
I worry so much. We'll never know what our kids have had to see. We'll
Yeah.
never know. None of us will.
She says, I think porn is a disgrace. I used to watch a lot of porn, to be honest. I started watching it when I was about 11. I think it
Wow.
destroyed my brain, and I feel incredibly devastated that I was exposed to so
Oh,
much.
no.
I was not saying no to things that were not good. It was because I thought that's what I was supposed to be attracted
sweetie.
to. Yeah. So, and off the back, not off the back of this, but in the same breath, UNICEF are saying that exposure to pornography at an early age may lead to poor mental health, sexism, and objectification. I mean, that's not surprising.
We
but,
know that, and
yeah.
unfortunately, I don't think there's a teenager out there who's escaped it. I
No,
really don't.
no,
I mean,
not
just
at all.
hearing from, Maddie, how it will just come
just
up in
part of the currency.
conversation, and it's all passed around on a phone,
It's all part of the
look at
currency.
this photo.
I just want to show you this photo. Now, if we've got any queries about whether there
I
was
have to go in 2
a
minutes.
Tory Christmas party, check this out.
Wow.
That's the Christmas party. That chap there, I believe, was the Conservatives' mayoral candidate.
This wasn't thrown together last minute after this.
Yeah.
This was brought in,
Ordered.
and this is in the Prime Minister's house. He knew about
And
this.
also buffet food, wasn't that one of the things they banned in
Oh God,
in hotels?
that makes my blood boil.
Oh.
Because a part of me thought I was probably a mishmash of a part. That.
But look, the guy on the floor is lying across.
That's why the mirror the whole time. I knew it right from the beginning. Oh no, it happened. I
Yeah,
knew
they
they had
knew-
photos.
you knew they knew.
We knew that they had the absolute evidence.
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to share. Oh, I've just got rid of. There's a story that the police are going to actively focus on and track down actively high risk men. This is their sort of response to the culture of misogyny that led to the Sarah Everard case. The police are going to actively target high risk men, and I was just wondering.
What do you mean high risk men? Men who are likely to
Men who
sexually
are
assault
likely to
people?
commit violence, assault people. I guess men who have some kind of track record or history or some kind of criminal
Bollocks.
profile.
They're not going to do that. That's Priti Patel showing off. There's not the police force there to do that.
Well, and
Don't
also, I hate to say it. Just in our limited experience of the police, there's a sort of raised eyebrow and an arched sort of attitude to all of this. I don't necessarily think big ideas at the top of the police party will trickle all the way down. What do you think, guys? Do you think this is something? Deborah Muck, why are photos only coming out now? Why not months ago? Because they like to trickle these stories out because it sells papers, doesn't it? Where are all these government pictures coming from? I think there's a bit of a lag on the. They haven't got the resources, have they, Creatorholic? Not at all. No. What a disgrace. What about high-risk women? Tracy Lynham. Yes, of course, but sometimes it's not about... In talking about high-risk men isn't to say there aren't high-risk women, but sometimes you have to look at the bigger problem before you attend to the smaller problem. I think that's one of the lines that's often come out, which is men get assaulted too, women get... but we're talking about women getting assaulted, and we're talking about... And it's nowhere near the same numbers. So, yes, there are high-risk women. I mean, you only have to look at the baby story today, but in terms of, we're talking about misogyny specifically, so there's that. And I just wanted to share the name of this place. This is, oh, I've lost it. It's really funny.
I've got to go, everybody.
All right, sweetie.
Off to see Dutch Tits Off that lots of you love. And Michelle.
Have a good one. Send them my love.
And Titty
Have a lovely
Gritty
day.
and Hannah. So, I love you guys. See you later. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to have been a chance, with a chance to win the ninja.
Okay, darling.
All right, darling. I'll
All
call you
right,
later.
lots of love.
Love you.
And now, this is funny. Life among anti-vaxxers. There's a village. Believe it or not, there's a village called Anti-Vax on the Hill.
Really?
Oh yeah, it was another quiet day in a village, but apparently in
That's
anti
annoying. I've got to go. That's really interesting.
yeah
story.
in anti-vax apparently it's really easy to get your booster jab. Everyone's saying goodbye. Oh, there's your. Do you want to pick up your supermarket sweep jumper that you've offered up?
Fallen off there. Oh, we've got to organise that.
Yeah,
Somebody's
you do have to
done
organise that.
Love ya.
Love you. Take care. Yeah, anti-vax on the hill. It's not a lot goes on there, but it's a rural idyll in the southwest of England, and there are no queues for jabs. Who'd like to live in anti-vax? Isn't that funny? Imagine calling it anti-vax. So, who gets their booster today? Anyone getting their booster today? Anyone going to go and stand in the longest queue on the planet for a booster? Leadenhall Market is a great one, and the building is gorgeous, Chelsea Girl. It is stunning. I used to work in the bookshop on Leadenhall Market. It's. I think they shoot Harry Potter there, don't they? I had my booster last Friday. Yeah, my booster's coming up any minute. Get my booster. Can't get my booster till the 31st. I mean, imagine getting your booster on the 24th or 23rd, and then you're whacked out for Christmas Day. So, guys, I've got to crack on too. I hope you have a lovely day. Did we say hello to Julie Hilton? You wanted a little shout out. There you go. Stay safe, stay San Diego. And obviously, Vlogmas will be landing later. Got to shoot and edit the bloody thing. So take care, have a lovely day, and see you later. Keep your eye on the channel. You never know, something extra might land.